yesterday's attacks is another thing.
Some say that he does have ties to Muslim extremists. I don't know.
In mid-June, 2 oil tankers were damaged by explosions while sailing through the Gulf of Oman, the choke point of global oil trade. The US, along with some of its allies, including the UK, Saudi Arabia and Israel, was quick to blame Tehran for the incident without providing any solid proof to back up the allegation.
It is the assessment of the United States government that the Islamic Republic of Iran is responsible for the attacks that occurred in the Gulf of Oman today. This assessment is based on intelligence, the weapons used, the level of expertise needed to execute the operation, recent similar Iranian attacks on shipping, and the fact that no proxy group operating in the area has the resources and proficiency to act with such a high degree of sophistication.
To implicate Iran in the attacks, the Pentagon has so far released just a blurry video which allegedly shows Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, removing an unexploded mine from the hull of one of the 2 vessels. The video and American officials' interpretation of the video has not sold well.
What I can tell you is that the limpet mine that was used in the attack is distinguishable. And it is also strikingly bearing a resemblance to Iranian mines that have already been publicly displayed in Iranian military parades.
German Foreign Minister has said, "The video is not enough. We can understand what is being shown, sure, but to make a final assessment, this is not enough for me." Interestingly enough, the Japanese owner of one of the 2 tankers has cast doubt on the US version of events, saying the vessel was struck by a projectile and not by a mine, which is what US officials assessed as the source of the blast.
何かがしら飛んできたようだと、それで爆発というのも船体に穴が開いたというふうな報告は来ております。
The Japanese government is also skeptical. Tokyo says the US should provide more proof before the country can officially support its conclusion. Experts have noted the strange timing of the attack, which came as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was meeting with the leader of the Islamic Republic, marking the first time in 40 years that a Japanese leader had visited Tehran. The incident followed earlier attacks in May on 2 Saudi-flagged, 1 Norwegian-flagged and 1 Emirati-flagged tankers off the coast of the UAE. Likewise, the US and its allies were quick to pin the blame on Tehran, again without solid evidence.
Unfortunately, this is not a new thing that any problem in the region is attributed to Iran, or as they call it, proxies of Iran. We have always rejected these possibilities, and Iran is the first country who is interested to keep the peace and stability in the region. We, in fact, are very cognizant about the sensitivity of the situation, and we are very concerned and very suspicious about these acts done yesterday.
Now a general pattern has begun to emerge which some have referred to as a mainstream conspiracy theory against Iran. Tehran says the US has resorted to sabotage diplomacy in order to demonize Iran among the international community. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif says that the US immediately jumped to blame his nation without a shred of factual or circumstantial evidence, with the goal of sabotaging Iran's relations with Japan. This news of attacked oil tankers comes on the heels of additional steps taken by Washington to pressure Iran's economy and further undermine the Iranian government. The US just recently ended waivers for nations buying Iranian oil. Nations including Japan, South Korea, Turkey, China and India will now face US sanctions if they continue importing Iranian oil. The Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, Ali Larijani, has argued that the US may in fact be the culprit, saying these actions and accusations are supplementary to economic sanctions because the US did not reach their goals through the sanctions.
البعض بيقول انه كمان هذه محاولة من الإيرانيين للضغط يقولوا انه شوفوا شو بيصير بالعالم اذا صار في يعني حرب، يعني هذه الحرب مكلفة قد تكون نوع من التفاوض، ولكن بعتقد الإيراني بيعرف كتير منيح لو كان وراه هو هذا الموضوع شو مخاطره. يعني أنا أرجح أنه ليس الإيراني وراء هيك موضوع، لأنه أكيد ما بده يفاوض ضمن الشروط الأمريكية، لكن أكيد مش رح يرفع الإعلام ببيته.
Political observers say the current finger-pointing echoes U.S. campaign for a war against Iraq in 2003. The allegations of Iraq possessing weapons of mass destruction came out to be untrue, but only after Washington had attacked the country. While Washington tries to show Iran as the bad player in the Persian Gulf, its own track record in the region tells a quite different story. In what is known as the Tanker War, the US helped then Iraq dictator Saddam Hussein entangle in a shadowy conflict in the Persian Gulf, first by targeting Iran's shipping and then attacking Karg Island, a crucial oil tanker loading terminal for Iran. It is an open secret that Saddam Hussein was above all fighting on behalf of the US. According to the US Naval Institute, Iraq ultimately attacked over 280 Iranian vessels in the US-orchestrated war. Yet on 18th of April 1988, the US proxy war against Iran turned into a direct face-off during Operation Praying Mantis. American forces attacked 2 Iranian oil rigs and sank or damaged 6 Iranian vessels. US forces also killed about 60 Iranian sailors during the operation. To cap it all, a few months later, on 3rd of July 1988, the USS Vincennes shot down Iran Air Flight 655, a passenger flight from Tehran to Dubai. The aircraft was destroyed and all 290 people on board, including 66 children, were killed. The captain of USS Vincennes, Will C. Rogers III, was later awarded Legion of Merit for what he did. The Israeli regime's track record in the sea is no better. Just in one case in 2010, an Israeli raid on the Gaza Freedom Flotilla, comprising 6 civilian ships, killed 10 Turkish activists in high seas and sent the Ankara-Tel Aviv ties into a tailspin. The flotilla, carrying humanitarian aid, intended to break the regime's blockade of the Gaza Strip.
They come on board in full combat gear, 11 o'clock in the morning. Their faces blackened and masked with long guns, 2 short guns. I mean, 35 Navy coming on board the boat was scary enough.
Not only do the US and its allies have direct experience with bombing and attacking ships in the Persian Gulf and international waters, they have a motive to do so at the present time. Given that the US National Security Advisor John Bolton has personally called for a regime change in Tehran, and given that the US and UK governments lied their way to war in Iraq some 16 years ago, experts say it's not unthinkable that the recent attacks are a false flag operation intended to generate a casus bellum, an excuse for going to war. Following futile unilateral sanctions, the Trump administration this time is looking to build international consensus against Iran by trying to show Tehran behind the attacks on oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman. On a practical level, going against Tehran is not a venture Washington can do by itself. Iran has a population of nearly 90 million people, has a powerful military, a navy, and an array of land-to-sea missiles, capable of inflicting devastating losses on American ships in the Persian Gulf. It has also the ability to close off the Strait of Hormuz, through which 1/5 of the world's oil transits. So the US needs allies on its side, believing its story and fighting its fight. Right now, Washington is deploying another aircraft carrier and B-52 bombers to the Persian Gulf to counter alleged, still unspecified threats from Tehran. Yet the hawks in the White House know that any military operation against Iran will likely be very unpopular around the world and require the proper international context, both to ensure the logistical support the operation would require and to minimize the blowback from it.
What we would not like to see is is a military escalation in the region. We think that would be extremely dangerous, definitely not positive, neither for anyone in the region, nor for Europe, neither for the rest of the world.
The question is, will the world fall once again for American false flags? It's a wait-and-see game from now on.